Hi everyone, Derek Cooper here, Director of Instruction at Troon Golf Academy, Lake of Isles. In today's video I want to talk to you a little bit about the ball flight that I see gives most players trouble, and that is the slice. So slice for a right-handed player starts off and then curves off to the right. We're going to talk about why that happens, what you can do about correcting it, so that when you head out and play and practice next you can start hitting the ball a lot straighter if that slice is something that gives you issues. So we're out here on the lesson tee at Lake of Isles. I've got my practice station set up. I've got a rod on the ground here which is parallel to my target line. It's going to help me with my body alignment. And I've got another rod over here which is parallel to the outside of the target line, which is going to help me set up the club. So if you're someone who slices the ball, there's a couple of things that we want to check before we even start looking in the swing. Just want to make sure that first of all you're set up correctly. And one of the things that I'm really watching here is where are your shoulders in relation to the target line. And I want to make sure that they're perpendicular to the target line, to even just a hair closed would be good if we're trying to stop you from slicing the ball. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the club face is aimed correctly at address. A lot of the time I'll see players who slice it will have the club face open at address and then they can never get it back to square at impact. So this rod on the outside is going to help us to make sure that club face is square. Now from there we're also going to check grip at address. Want to make sure that when you've got that club in your hands that you've got both those V's on the right, but not only the left hand but also the right hand are pointing towards your right shoulder. A lot of the time the club face will come back and be open at impact, which is what causes that slice to the right, because the hands are rotated too far to the left on the grip. So we want to make sure, if anything, they're rotated a little bit too much to the right, because that will tend to make the club face close a little more. So once we've got our body aligned correctly, the club face is square at address, and our grip is aimed correctly, as we said, with those V's pointing towards the right shoulder, and then want to look at, well, when you take the club away, are you taking the club face away square, or are you rolling the club face open in the backswing? Because if the club face rolls open in the backswing, now you've got to close it the same amount coming down, but the challenge in the downswing is that you've got to do it at speed, which makes it much more difficult. So what we see with players who tend to slice is they'll set up, and even when they get their setup pretty good, they'll tend to take the club away and make this sort of a move. So the club will go away to the inside and they'll roll the club face open in the backswing. Now coming down, they have trouble trying to close it again. What we'd ideally like to see is let the body take the club back, so that when the club reaches this position in the backswing, I want to see the toe of the club ever so slightly closer to the target line than the heel of the club. I could even have it vertical at this point would be fine, but my preference would be to have it just a little forward like that, especially for a player who's fighting that slice. I want to get them a little more this way. The other thing we see at the top of the swing is when the person does this in the backswing, they get to the top of the swing, and what happens is this left wrist here gets cupped. And that's opening the club face in the backswing, and then again they've got to work really hard to close it in the downswing. If you take the club away correctly to here, and then work up from there, what we should see is a much flatter left wrist at the top of the swing, keeping the club face squarer. Now I found when I'm talking to players that an easy way for them to think about it, because they're right-handed, is to think about what their right hand does. So what I'm looking for from here is, I'm here in my address position with my right hand, I go back and the right palm is down slightly here, and then from there I go up and I want the right palm up. And when I do that with the club in hand, I get the club here, and you can see there's my right palm is down and I've got the club face square. From there I go up and I've got my right palm up, which gets that back of the left hand a lot flatter, and the club face is much squarer at the top of the swing. Much easier for me then to square the club through impact. So if you're having troubles with slicing the golf ball, let's just go through it one more time, the things that you want to check. Let's make sure first of all that you are aimed correctly. Make sure that the body is parallel to the target line. You want to make sure that the club face is square at address and not open to the right. You want to check that your grip is neutral to even a little bit on the strong side, and by that I mean the hands are rotated a little to the right, the V's pointing more towards your right shoulder. And once you move the club away, we want to make sure the club goes away square, not rolling open, and then at the top of the swing we're looking for that right palm to the sky, or the back of the left hand to be flat, rather than this way at the top of the swing. And that right palm to the sky has been described, you know, I've heard people talk about a lot of like you're holding a tray of drinks at the top of the swing. Really, really good swing thought to get that feeling there. So if you can get that club working away square and setting the club here, you're going to start hitting the ball a lot more squarely with club face, and you'll get rid of that slice in no time.